welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson, and this is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi all.
And today we're reaching our final film installment in our Indiana Jones series, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Well, it's a Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, actually. And George Lucas won the Kingdom bit, wasn't there?
Kingdom in there. Yeah, that goes without saying. So anyway,
he did write the story. But
yes.
Yeah.
So this is a film that no doubt that you may have heard Steven Spielberg wasn't jumping for joy to do.
Yeah, because I mean he was he'd come off doing Close Encounters and some other sci-fi movies. He didn't want to do another alien type movie. So George said, "Well, they're not actually aliens. We're going to make them interdimensional beings."
Yeah. So
wait a minute. So why would interdimensional beings need a flying saucer?
beats me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, good sales job, George.
Yeah, but not to mention, a lot of people over the years, and it concludes if you watch that movie Stargate.
Hey, great movie that. We might do that one day.
We
Not
might.
all the movies, just Stargate 1.
Yes.
We're not going to do franchises all the time, are we?
Nope.
No, good.
So
Okay,
anyway,
good.
it sort of falls into that sort of story where most people keep assuming that who built the pyramids? Why are they a pyramid shape? Why does it have to be this shape? Why not a triangle? I mean, why not about a square?
I
Why
could
not
tell them
anything
all
like that?
about that, but we're not. It's not an archaeological site.
True.
It is a film review site.
Yes, true. Yes.
But
So
we might touch on things like that later on. Yeah,
Yes.
if it comes into a film review.
yes. So anyway, while George and Harrison Ford, they were all to do a fourth movie, and they were pushing Steven to get involved.
Come on, give us another one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and there were some few ideas, a few titles they came up with, and not to mention, while they were filming this film, one of the extras revealed to a newspaper a little bit about the plot, or the key elements to the plot.
Which is a no-no, hey.
Yes, and even after he was signed a agreement
The
to
privacy
not...
thing or whatever.
Yeah, the Privacy Act
Non-disclosure thing
for
or,
not
yeah.
not mentioning into the media what this film is about, which is a
Under
lot.
penalty of death.
Yes,
No,
which a
no,
lot
no.
of the time I get annoyed that so much information is being released about certain films even before they're released.
And then the trolls get a hand on it, and they rip it apart even before they've even seen the movie.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Troll.
Yes, it does annoy me that a certain movie or certain movies, I'm going to say, get
Trollified
before it even get released. It happens
come
so
on,
many
guys.
times.
You get a life, honestly. Yeah.
Yes,
Anyway, let us roll on with the storyline.
Yes.
Actually, well, I will say one thing, though, before we start, though. When they wrote the story, it was originally going to be Nazis again. Now, this was about 19 years after the last movie, in time frame of the movie. And what happened is that, there's no more, the war was over.
Yes.
And they're going to say, okay, we'll have some retired German Nazi people who are still looking for naughty things to dominate the world. But they thought, the Cold War's going on, so a bit of James Bondy stuff and everything else. So, hey, why not bring the Russians in for a change? So, out with the Nazis, in with the Russians.
Quite right, Mike.
Okay.
So, anyway, our story begins with Indiana Jones and his new friend Mac, I think.
Yeah, Mac, yeah.
And they've been abducted by these Russian creeps.
Yep.
Not being nasty to real Russians out there.
Well, in the movie, the creeps.
Yes. Anyway, they get abducted and they're taken to Area 51 or somewhat like it.
Area 51, that's well in the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a secured area for locking things away and to keep them protected.
Yeah, you may remember the same. It's the same place where they put the Ark of the Covenant at the end of
exactly right.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
And many other things.
Many secretive things.
We won't go into those, but it's a secret. If we tell you, we've got to kill you, okay?
Or the government will kill you.
Yeah.
So anyway, Indy and Mac, they are abducted by these Russians. They want something inside the warehouse, and this lady, who's a Russian too, what's her name?
Kate Blanchett is playing the role of Irina Spalko. Yes, I think that's right.
That's
It's a Soviet agent, and she's very, very good at it. I
Yeah.
mean, considering she's not Russian, she does the accent quite nicely, and the attitude.
Right. So anyway, she abducts them, and she wants this artifact because it's very important for her. The Cold War, obviously.
Well, yeah, I think she's representing Stalin. I think it's Stalin,
Yeah.
which is her leader.
Yeah.
And like Hitler, Stalin believes in the supernatural and the psychic stuff. So he got a thing for things supernatural and things psychic and stuff. That if we control the people's minds, we can go for world domination, that sort of thing. So
Did Stalin really get involved in that sort of
I
thing?
don't know. I saw a movie about Stalin, but it was a comedy, so it doesn't matter, does it? No,
No, not much.
But no, I don't know much about Stalin.
Yeah. So anyway, Indy gives them the artifact, and they start to plan on either killing him or continue on their quest for world domination. And of course, Indy does escape, and he gets caught up by the American army guys, and they are questioning him that whether or not they think he's
He thinks he might be in with the Soviet troops,
yeah,
spies,
like
whatever.
communist, like what we
Yeah,
talked.
like the communists.
Yeah, like what we talked about the Red Scare a while back, guys.
Yeah, in that the witch hunt movie. Yeah.
Yeah, so it
But
gets
that's what
around.
he was a communist sympathiser. He was
Yeah.
siding with the Russians. Yeah,
Just because
no.
he
Yeah.
was abducted and taken to a secret location.
And he helped them out
yada,
because
yada.
the guy either help us or die. Well,
Yes.
what would you do, folks? I would certainly help them.
And not to mention, he was working in the army for a bit. If you watched the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Yeah, he's a hero.
Yes, but the American FBI guys don't really 100% believe that he's a 100% good guy.
Yeah, they're what's the word? I mean, in a court of law, you normally go in there and you're innocent until proven guilty. With the FBI guys, it's the case that you're guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah,
Not a very
and
nice
this
attitude.
is where,
yeah.
when we get back to Indy's university he teaches at, he's told by the dean that the FBI has searched his office to find out if there's any secret stuff about the Russians.
What if there's condoms in the drawer? What?
Yeah, and of course in this one we see more male students, unlike last time
Yeah,
it was all a lot of females.
Yeah, he's getting old now, so he's not eye candy for the girls anymore, is he?
Yeah.
Then again,
Well.
I think some girls probably still think he's okay.
Yeah.
Like Sean Connery, aged well. Maybe not now.
Yes.
But
Yeah, so the dean tells them the bad news that he's no longer part of their teaching staff and he has to leave.
shame.
Yeah, and he even gave him more bad news that the dean resigned from his position there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to help protect Indiana. Indiana wasn't sacked. He was just put off on a long-term holiday
Yeah.
until things settled down.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, Indy makes arrangements to leave, and we then reveal in this one that Indy's dad's passed away. When in real life, Sean Connery didn't want to do any more Indiana Jones.
Well,
because
he's sort of retired.
He's retired now.
And he didn't want to come back out of retirement for 5 or 10 minutes of the film.
Yes, and
So,
he's
yeah.
happy where he is now. Just so you guys know.
Yeah.
So we can't really
Well, he's
force
spending all
him.
his hard-earned money,
Yeah, well, we can't force someone to get back in the industry. That's not
He
nice.
was enjoying retirement back in those days. But I mean, when you have, so I don't know how many movies Sean Connery made, but I mean, when you're working in the media and doing interviews and doing this and doing that, and I mean, you don't get any personal time. And in the end, you say, "Well, I'm sick of it all," and then people just walk away from it, or down tools to a certain degree.
Yes. So, moving on, Indy's heading off onto his train, and then we have this mysterious kid arrive named Matt Mutt Williams, who has
Mutt, like in Puppy Dog.
who has some secret information to disclose. Is that right?
Yeah, he had some information he wanted to pass on to Indiana.
Yeah. So he tells them about this other archaeologist named what's his name?
Oxley?
Oxley.
Harold Oxley.
Yes.
known as Ox to his friends, and he was something like it was a bit of a stepfather to Mutt, was he?
Sort of like that.
Yeah, or stepfather, or
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 a
adopted,
godfather.
or a godfather or something. Because
Yeah.
we won't go into the other bits, but I think the guy that his mother married passed away early, and he became a close friend
Yeah,
of the family.
like a
How's that?
godfather, if you will. So Matt says he's mysteriously vanished, and he left a letter to Matt's mum, and in return, Matt gets it, and he's advised to take it to Indy.
It had some squiggly bits on it. I can't read them. I'm an archaeologist. But
Yeah.
anyway, Indy figures out what it is. It's got something to do with, crystal skulls. And some conquistador, Francesco de Orleans or something.
Yeah, Mike, let's talk about the crystal skulls for just a minute.
Well, you have to go and find the crystal skulls.
I know, I just meant, we discussed earlier that the crystal skulls is actually a fake artifact.
Well, okay, I read a lot, and I have an interest in archaeology. Now, the crystal skull, a crystal skull, was discovered a few decades back. I don't know exactly when. And it was made out to be something fantastic and supernatural, or maybe alien, or a different life force, or life form from previous period, whatever. It was actually proven to be a fake.
You see?
It was made using common tools, glass blowing, whatever they did. I don't know what it was made out of, but there was tool marks on it. It wasn't made as great as everyone made out. It was
a fake.
It was a fake. Unfortunately, and that's what annoys me. The great part about this movie is everything else. I mean, the Raiders of the Lost Ark was based on a real religious relic. The Temple of Doom was based on something out of Indian culture, and the thuggies and stuff did exist. The Last Crusade was based on looking for the Holy Grail, which is still believed to be around, even though it's more folklore and fantasy. But it does refer back to Jesus Christ, who was a real entity.
Yes.
But this one here is like totally fiction. I mean, it's just made it up and. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Anyway,
it does
let's roll on with it. Yeah, let's get away from the skulls.
Yeah, so
it's a good movie.
Somehow the Russians catch up to Indy, and we have a bit of a brief car chase with Mutt and Indy riding the motorcycle,
Mutt's driving the bike and Indy's on the back, and
just so you guys,
not a bad chase scene. Not bad.
Just so you guys know that Harrison Ford had to shape up when they were making this movie, and so he wants to do all his own stunts a little bit here.
I don't know if he did all his own stunts, but
maybe
a
all
lot.
of them.
That motorbike scene, the close-ups were him, but on the faraway shots had some people.
But as I said before. Well, I haven't mentioned this before. Steven Spielberg, he wanted to minimize the CGI side of things in this movie, and wanted to go back to an old way of filming using stunt doubles and people,
and matte paintings and stuff instead of CGI. And they actually, in the end, they did use a bit more CGI than they anticipated, but that was more to make it more convenient to make the movie than to actually
believable.
Well, to make it look believable and natural, but not to take the place of natural.
But as Harrison Ford pointed out, he says he wanted to make sure his action scenes look authentic. Like when he punches someone, in the face, it has to look believable.
Real blood? No.
Not believable like that. Believable, just believable that you guys know it's a real punch. Like he's not really looking like he was Spider-Man or something.
Ew.
Something like that.
Sticky.
So anyway, guys.
Sticky.
So anyway, guys.
Carry on.
We get a chase. We're told later on that they have to head off to Peru to find out more about the artifact.
They're following the clues. They found Oxley, sort of.
Yes, but that's much later.
Well, they found they found where it's supposed to be.
Yes. Yeah.
And they actually went to they said the story, they found he came out of the jungle and is half crazy and everything else. They put him in an infirmary with some nuns running it.
Yes, exactly. And this is where we get more of a backstory to Indy, where he learnt some of the languages from Peru, from when he used to ride with Pancho Villa.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, you may remember it in Young Indiana Jones when he was in spring camp. Spring holidays when
Oh, okay.
where he
spring holidays. He got spring holidays, did he?
yeah, spring
Well,
break.
there you go
Sorry,
then. Spring break.
so
That's
it's Indiana
better.
Jones and it's on spring break adventures, where Indy is on holidays with his dad, and he gets kidnapped by Pancho Villa and all that stuff. But I won't tell you the whole story, obviously.
We're not reviewing that, are we?
No.
No, good, okay.
So anyway, Indy tells Mutt about this, and Mutt indulged that he was a school dropout and he doesn't want to go. He went to a lot of private schools, but he doesn't really give much.
He doesn't give a rat's... Oh, no, don't.
He doesn't give a rat's ass about.
He doesn't give a rat's bottom. Not
rat's
ass.
butt about education, sadly enough. But he's interested in reading sometimes, but he's not interested in...
He wants to be a motorbike mechanic. Yes, and Indiana says, that's a good idea, son. Don't
your
let
own
people
thing.
tell you what to do, your own thing.
Yeah, and Mutt says he's had a hard time at home too.
Yeah.
Like a lot like Indy, who had a hard time when he was a kid too. So anyway, as we're going on, we find some details in Oxley's cell that show a map of sorts.
Yeah, he scratched stuff on the wall,
Yes.
but they're on the floor. He'd actually did a map, but he couldn't see the map properly because there's dirt all over it
Yeah.
and stuff. So they cleaned
Yeah.
the dirt off and said, "Oh, there's a map."
Yeah,
Very
this makes me
goody.
think about the last Crusades, where you had to look at the scratch on the floor to see.
Actually, I'm a little bit confused.
The maps.
How long was Ox in there for?
Gosh knows.
I didn't
a week?
say, but he would have done a lot of etching in there. And if that was rock or concrete, what did he scratch the map in the ground with?
Good
His
question,
teeth?
Mike.
Did he chew it in?
Yeah, that's impossible.
Yeah, but yeah.
And not to mention the engravings were like very wedged deep. Like it
He
was.
read it, a couple of mil deep, so he made it. Yeah, you could see it.
True.
Like the map room in the other movie.
Yeah, roughly. So anyway, they then head off to the actual the tomb of our
The Spanish conquistador.
yes, and they get a bit of trouble at the beginning, but soon enough they do find what they were looking for, the crystal skull, which is unbelievable if you ask me.
It's quite an attractive piece of stuff, and
Yeah, and Indy says
you probably buy one for $200.
yeah, but Indy notices a lot of things, peculiar things about it. Like, there's no carvings on it. There's no
tool marks.
There's no
and stuff.
tool
Yeah,
marks to indicate who made it, and it's sort of like any artifact out. If you look at pottery and other stuff, you always notice
There's a tool mark or a hallmark stamped on the bottom or something. Or there's no indication actually made by human hands.
Yes, it looks too much like a real skull or something like that.
Well, sort of.
But it's considering that the big, I don't know much about skeletons, but it has a big head to it.
Yeah, the back of the head is elongated. That's a good word.
That's a word for
That's
it.
That's a good word. Elongated.
Yeah, and anyway, they get ambushed by the Russians again, and they're taken to a new digging site or new site to and where Indy gets a bit more information about the skull, and at the same time he doesn't believe half of the malarkey they're believing.
Doesn't he meet Ox then? And
Yeah,
Marion?
he does.
Yeah.
So in this scene, he kind of meets Marion after so many years.
At least 19 years.
Yes, and he realizes that Mutt is the son to
Yeah, he's
Marion.
Henry Jones the third, sort of, even though his name's Williams.
Yeah,
But yeah.
of course, we don't get to that part, but we're roughly getting there. Yeah. So anyway, we get more information from Oxley about the actual location of where the
Oxy's
remains are.
mind is still gone, but it's not gone. It's being controlled by the skull.
Yes, his brains are completely scrambled.
Yeah.
In other words.
Exactly right.
Yes.
But yeah, for a good reason. He's a mouthpiece for the skull people, the skull personality. Yeah, whatever. Trying to communicate to other people on where to get the skull. They want to see where the skull came from is wanting the skull taken back to where it belongs.
Yeah. So anyway,
through Ox, they're trying to get that.
So they
Make
try to
happen.
escape again,
And again.
a second time, or try to, but they end up, Indy and Marion end up in quicksand or
Well, actually, solid dry sand.
dry sand.
It's very similar to it. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
Indy
wiggle
get-
too much, you go under. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, Mutt goes off and tries to find something, a rope or a piece of whatever, and Marion confides to Indy that Mutt is his own son, Henry Jones III, as we said, and Indy says, Why didn't you let him drop out of school?"
Well, the sinking in the sand, mind you. Yeah.
Well, he was a bit
Well,
shocked.
they had nothing else to do. They're just hanging around there, weren't
Yeah.
they? You know, yeah.
Anyway, Mutt arrives. He gets a large snake. What
Yeah,
kind of snake is it?
like it's either a large python or a small boa constrictor. But we all know that. Marion grabbed it first, and
Yes.
he pulls Mummy out, and then he throws it over towards Indiana, and Indiana hates snakes.
Yes,
And
and
he says, "I hate snakes. Grab it. I don't want it. Find something else." And he said, "Look, call the rope. Tell me to grab the rope. Don't say grab the snake."
and he says, so they finally say, "Fine,
Grab
the
the
rope."
And he grabbed it, and they pulled him out using a snake.
Yeah, and he says, "Get rid of it," and he calls him son. And
Son.
of course,
Yeah, Mutt didn't know.
no, until much later. Anyway, the Russians caught up with them thanks to Oxley again. Oxley went off to
We
find
went
help,
for help, but
he
found
got
help.
the wrong
He
help.
got the Russians to come back and help them.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, they didn't
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
did
Anyway,
they?
the next day, Marion and Indy tell him the truth, or the full truth, to Mutt about his parentage, and Mutt is not so happy that his dad's an archaeologist and teacher. Not many kids would want to be thrilled about having a
Hey, I
teacher for a
wouldn't mind
parent.
if my dad was Indiana Jones.
Hey, me too.
My dad was a mechanic.
Yeah, but he doesn't know much about Indy. He thinks he's just a dried up teacher.
Yeah. He's spare time.
Yeah, true. That's what he said in that scene. Anyway, he's not less pleased, and while they're arguing, one of the Russian guys tries to gag Marion, but Indy and Mutt fight their way out. And
As one would.
I like the scene where Marion asked him, "You must have had lots of other girlfriends after me," and he says, "There were a few, but they all had one problem."
They weren't you. Ah, isn't that lovely?
I love that bit, and I love the
Nice.
fact that
Hey,
Marion
girls,
still
yeah.
maintains her childish,
It's just cute.
glee
Actually,
about it.
I liked her. I mean, I'm an older guy. Okay, I like young females in movies, but there's something about the older Marion. What's the name?
Her name is
Karen. What's the name?
Karen. Yeah.
Yeah, Karen Allen. She looks cute in this. I mean, for an older lady, and I don't mean I say it in the nicest possible way. She comes out as really cute and funny.
Yeah.
Not as dynamic as in the first movie, but a bit more laid back. Like, yeah, I'm just an old housewife sort of person. And she comes over cute and funny and lovable, and she plays a really good part in this.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, they fight their way out. Get Oxley, get the skull, and get Mac, who says he's an CIA agent.
Yeah,
I think.
and a double agent as
Yeah.
well.
See, he's a bit of a traitor in this movie.
Yeah, but he says he's a double agent. I'm not really working for the Russians. I'm actually working for the CIA. I'm a double agent. Yada yada yada. Bullshit.
Yes. Anyway, they soon get this crystal skull, and they head off to Akrator or whatever it is.
Is that when they drive over the cliff?
Yeah, 3 times, just so you know.
Well, they drive the cliff 3 times. They drive. This is the funny part. Marion's driving this amphibious car type
yeah.
thing, and she's heading for this cliff. And everyone's
Yeah,
saying,
heading.
"You're heading for a cliff." I know, and she drives straight over the cliff. But she's already checked it out before. She lands on a large tree branch type thing sticking out the side of the cliff, which gradually lowers them down to the river, and then she drives off into the river.
Yeah, this bit I like because Indy says, "Don't do that again."
She says, "Yes, dear," and drives off like she's going to the shops. Really funny.
I thought it was amusing.
But the next part was the riddle goes,
The waterfalls.
it drops 3 times. And what's that? 3 waterfalls. Now, the first one wasn't too bad. The second one was a bit worse. The other one was like Victoria Falls in South Africa. It was huge. And I went straight over that and obviously swamped the car and different things. And
Well, we're not going to use it again.
and they're sitting there, Marion's on the shore, they're holding a steering wheel with no
Laughing,
car
Vicky.
attached to it. And she's stunned,
Yes, and we do find
Female drivers,
Yeah,
hey,
and we do
you know.
find the entrance to the Akrator.
Yeah, through a a skull-like carving in the side of the cliff.
Yeah.
Somewhat similar to the Phantom's Cave. No.
Yeah.
I like the Phantom. Yeah.
Yeah, so they head inside, and there's a lot of carvings, a bit, and
Yeah, a bit of a story, like Egyptian hieroglyph type, and ideograms and stuff there, but it
Yes.
wasn't Egyptian, obviously.
obviously.
then
Anyway, we then see they kind of run into some natives of
They
the
were a bit like Guardians. or
yes,
something,
Guardians and stuff. A lot like the Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they were chasing Indy in that movie. Anyway, luckily, Oxley came up with a way to get them away from them.
Oh yeah, they revered the skull as a god.
Yes, so
He holds
they
up the Orthodox
he holds it up,
tower.
and they kind of move away.
Yeah, and so they go on the merry way.
Yes,
Merry.
and they come to a dead end at first, but they were able to work out how to get inside the actual Akator
We won't go into
pyramid.
that too much.
No, they're too interesting.
It's a bit intricate to explain. You'd have to see the movie.
Yeah, see the movie before watching this review, guys. is what
Well,
was-
after watch the review. Man,
Yes.
this isn't a review's about to tell them, hey, go watch the movie.
true.
Aha.
Ah. So anyway, they get inside. We see more carvings that indicate that there were more than one guardian, supposedly, and we see the full head of more carvings that look a lot like the skull, too.
Yes, yeah. The elongated skull. Actually, I had a query about this part coming
What's
up.
that?
A few moments later, the Russians show up.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when Indiana Jones and Company found their way into this area, they went down a shaft, and while they're going down the shaft, the stairway was disappearing into the wall.
That's a good.
Now, there
thought.
was, I don't know how many metres down they had to go. They had to run like crazy to get to the bottom of this shaft.
True.
Now, the steps weren't there anymore. How did the Russians get in there
Oh, good
if
question.
there's no steps?
I think that they might have used either like
An elevator.
maybe they used ropes and pull and be able to climb down that way. That's my guess anyway.
Yeah.
That's my only estimate on how.
You would say that, wouldn't you?
Of course. It would. So anyway, they find their way down, and eventually we find the room where all the alien skeletons are there.
Alien-looking skeletons, because
Yes.
they were alien-looking.
Oh,
There was about, how many, 10 of them, was there? 13?
12, I think.
12 or 13, but number 10 or
Yeah,
whatever.
before we go
had-
into that room, we also see
big
a lot of
circle.
artifacts outside the room.
Oh, yeah.
Of Egyptians, other
other cultures and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, other cultures.
Now, actually,
Unbelievable.
I'll digress just for a moment, because it was mentioned in some notes I was reading up. These guys, I won't say too much about them, but they were a bit like ancient archaeologists in their own right. They were studying human cultures, so they were collecting artifacts themselves.
Yeah, or maybe they were given gifts as.
No, I don't. I read up that they were actually like archaeologists.
Okay.
They were
okay.
studying mankind.
I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah,
I get it.
yeah.
So anyway, Indy sees this. Max said that this is a great opportunity. All the stuff that over the years that archaeologists have been searching for are here in this very room, maybe.
And lots of goldy stuff, and Mac likes gold. So he's greedy. See, he wasn't really a nice guy.
He's
he wasn't
obsessed
really
with
a
gold.
double agent or anything. He was just a self-serving twit who was just a greedy puss and just wanted to take all the gold stuff himself.
Yes.
Greed never pays.
Yes. Anyway, we finally, back to the main room we were talking about. We see all the alien skeletons there, looking like they're waiting for someone, or waiting for,
They were something
or
that,
holding
yeah.
council in this scene.
In a round circle.
Yes.
A round circle. Have you ever heard of a square circle? No. Yeah, in a
Yeah,
circle.
so they're in a circle, like they're holding council or something.
Or waiting for something to happen so they can do something. Yeah.
But as they were, Oxley was about to give back the skull. Who should be arriving?
Our Russian friend, Bugalow, Zorina, whatever her name is.
Yes.
Spalko, whatever it is.
Yeah, and she wants to be the very one to hand the skull over.
So the person who returns the skull is supposed to get a great gift, and she wanted the gift of knowledge, everything that they knew.
Yeah, well, yes. Well,
Bad decision. Bad decision.
Well, actually, it said in this movie that for those who give back the skull will receive lots of power.
Yeah, and she wanted it.
Yes.
The problem is, I've got a funny feeling that I'll call them aliens. These strange people think what was in her head, and that's just evil. So because they gave her what she wanted, all the knowledge that they had was put into her.
Yes.
However, as a mere female human being, I'm not saying females, but but female human being, we had no power. We had no strength to contain all that knowledge. So in the end, it was her undoing, wasn't it?
So getting back to the scene, as she was giving it back, Indy is having a bad feeling about this, and I can't agree with him because in the past, we have Donovan, we have Balak, and we now have this lady who thinks that she's holding all the cards, but fortunately, they don't hold the cards. They are somehow
She's holding the Joker.
Yes, they're holding the not the Joker
The Joker's a wild card.
Yeah, the Joker card. So. Indy's kind of seen this coming, realizing,
I got a bad feeling about this.
Yes.
He didn't actually say that, did he?
Yes, but Indy has a feeling that this is going to lead to something bad.
Let's start moving back a little
So
bit.
when she hands over the skull, Oxley begins to spat some language and some dialect I can't really pronounce.
Or alien.
Yes, and Indy was able to
No,
translate.
it's old Mexican or whatever the language was in the region.
So Indy translates and says that the alien was grateful for them for giving back the skull, and he was going to present them with a gift, a very big gift.
Yeah, that's lovely.
And while I know we heard from you, Mike, and about the fact that she was a nasty lady, but I do think maybe the interpretation of gift could mean something else. Considering that they're aliens we're talking about. Aliens have a different interpretation of what's a gift.
Well, that's a possibility.
And considering...
We're going to give you something you didn't have before.
Yes, and considering that in the past, people who get abducted, they give different ideas of what they've seen, and most of the time these people receive something they didn't expect to happen to them. Like some person.
We saw Starman. She got pregnant.
True. And in this one, of course we mentioned she wants to know it all, and as things start to turn pear-shaped inside the temple, it starts to take shape like unbelievably, and Oxley somehow maintains is back to Earth.
He regains his,
Yeah, somehow he's talking normal now.
He gets his brain back.
Yes, and he knows right away what's going on. He says that they're going to go shooting off to.
He said it's a portal.
Yes, somehow there's a portal in the ceiling that's going to send everyone or some people into an unknown dimension.
They're a dimensional creature, not an alien type creature. Yeah.
Yes, so
Even though it looks like a flying saucer.
Some of the Russians get sucked up into the portal. Who knows what happens to them? We don't know.
And that Irina Splatko, whatever her name is, she dissolves almost from...
Yeah, with all that knowledge. Remember, these creatures have a bigger head than us. Counting how much information in their head could not be able to hold.
By the way, while this is happening on, during this part here, all the aliens sitting in a circle start to morph into one.
Yes.
And it's a tall grey. And now you got the reported UFO sightings reports 2 or 3 different types of aliens, and one is a grey, but normally small greys, not big greys.
Yes. So,
anyway.
Indy and his friends escape, except for Mac because he ends up being pulled into the portal too.
Yeah, he was too greedy. He wanted to take all the treasure with him.
Yeah, so Indy and his friends, they head off down a long corridor, and somehow a lot of water comes gushing out. And this is where I keep thinking of Temple of Doom when I think about this scene.
Well, yeah, they came out through the mine.
And it would have been great if they used that scene for the Temple of Doom, but I'm not the director here.
Actually, some of the scenes in this movie that actually were going to be used in the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, I think, yeah, or in one of the stories. So they did borrow loosely from some of those, I think,
Most
maybe,
likely.
or some leftover ideas they didn't use.
Yeah. Anyway, they get the water starts gushing through the
Gus, 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 gus,
through
gus.
the entrance there, that, and all three of them can kind of come out of it like a cork out of a
Yeah,
bottle.
well, yeah, they get forced up this chute to the outside world, which was great because there was no way for them to get out of there anyway.
Yeah.
And they were up there far enough away from the centre of this thing, and the ground starts to break up, and this
Yeah.
you see there's something like a flying saucer
Yeah.
emerges, and it disappears through a portal, I believe, or just disappears.
Yeah, and Indy asks where'd they go? Space? But Oxley says not into space, but the space between
yeah.
spaces. I don't know what that
That's
means.
space between space, which means supposed to be another dimension. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
and
that's what we're inferring.
and
anyway.
then Mutt asks what happened. What about the city of gold? And Indy explains that the word for gold in the language is actually knowledge.
Exactly.
Meaning
and that takes you back to MacGyver.
Knowledge was their treasure.
What's it? MacGyver and the, what was that one called?
Lost City of Atlantis.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, and their treasure was knowledge. Isn't that a wonderful thing?
Yeah,
knowledge?
well,
You
throughout
can't eat knowledge. You can't spend it. You can't buy a house with it, but it's worth a lot.
Yeah, but there is some truth in that. For what Indy has described in that scene, it makes me think all this time he's been exploring worlds that we can't understand, and all this time he's been searching for things that will kind of let our brains wonder about. Right then?
Okay.
Yes.
So that's pretty much the movie.
Yeah, and now I want
oh,
to finish up where.
Oh, okay. Carry on.
Well,
the
I
other
say
bit, yeah.
sit and relax. Indy is curled up with Marion, and Bunt is ready to head back through Peru to get, before it gets dark. And this scene I like most, but when Mutt's heading off, Indy says, "Why don't you stick around, Junior?" And Mutt gives him a look saying, "I don't know, Dad. Why don't you?" And
Ooh, and then they get married.
well, before that, Indy's looking up the sky, thinking to himself, somehow your grandfather is laughing.
Laughing.
And I don't know which one grandfather he's referring to,
Sean
either
Connery.
Marion or
No,
Henry.
Sean Connery, his father's laughing at you. You're finally getting married. Yeah.
So we get to the wedding, and everyone's there. Well, can we explain about the wedding a little bit? What we discussed earlier?
We spit the
About-
way it was supposed to be.
Yeah, the way it should have been.
Okay, not supposed to be. The original idea was supposed to start with the wedding, and Indy gets left at the altar because his intended bride went to do something. They found a cylinder in Egypt or something, or Mexico, some Egyptian writings on it, whatever. But at the original wedding in one of the early drafts, they're supposed to have Sala doing a cameo. Short Round was supposed to be there. The two leading ladies, or three leading ladies.
Well, we can't say three because Elsa has been killed off.
No, Elsa, she couldn't be there, but Willie was supposed to be there. So a couple of people from the previous movie were supposed to be in there saying, "Hey," yeah. But yeah, and then he's actually, I've got a bit of a transcript here of the first draft. Hang on a second, might be a bit easier. Next it was a second draft that was done, whatever year it was written in. It was set in Borneo in 1949, with Indiana proposing to Dr. Elaine McGregor after defeating pirates. Now that must have been alluding to another story which was never made. She abandons him at the altar because the government requests her aid in decoding an alien cipher cylinder found in decoding an alien cylinder covered in Egyptian, Mayan and Sanskrit symbols, and that was found in New Mexico. Indiana Jones pursues her and battles Russian agents. That's where they got the idea from, Russian agents, and aliens for the cylinder. The script featured army ants, which was in this movie, a rocket sled flight, which was actually in this when they were in the early fight scene.
What ants?
The ants who ate the man.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
But
the
they were
two men.
giants.
Army ants, I said.
Yeah, that's right.
Army ants. Okay. A rocket sled fight, I said. Indiana surviving an atomic explosion by sealing himself inside a refrigerator. That was done in this movie. And a climatic battle between the US military and flying saucers, plural. Henry Jones Sr., Short Round, Sala, Marion Rainwood, and Willie cameo at Indiana and Elaine's wedding.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so roughly, guys,
Yeah, so
it would have.
they took some of it, but not all of it.
Yeah, it would have been great if they made it, some characters made a teeny tiny cameo in this.
Well, Sala, was John Rhys Davies. He didn't want to be in. Of course, the role was too small. It was like a couple of minutes, and that was it. So,
considering that Mac was his sidekick in this one, and Matt
but John Rhys
makes an
Davies
appearance.
does not get paid nothing to be in a movie.
Yeah, that's
It's sort of like Mark Hamill in that when he came back into the Star Wars,
Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens, he did the bit right at the end, didn't even have a word to speak, and he wanted a ridiculous amount of money for it. He
Yes.
nearly put himself out of the business. Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, Indy gets married, everyone is happy, and then a wind blows up, and Indy's hat brushes against Matt's leg, and which makes us think, is he destined to become an archaeologist just like his dad?
He picks up the hat, looks like he's going to put it on his head, and Indiana grabs it off him and puts it on his own head and walks out the door with a big smirk on his face. Now, let's go back into a bit of production stuff here and development. When they made the first 3 Indiana Jones movies, they were running out of ideas. They had an arrangement with the studios to make 5 movies, and they were lost. They didn't know what to do for the 4th movie. So then they made the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, and then during the making of that, there was one of the episodes there alluded to an older Indiana Jones, referring to an event from his youth. And I thought he got some ideas from that stimulated the idea to write the initial script for the Crystal Skull. How about that? Things that just take so much time to work themselves out, hey?
Quite. It's a bit of a relief. But I do like this movie, and I would, when I look at The Force Awakens that came out not too long ago, and compare it to this one had a lot more go to it than Force Awakens. Not being rude or anything, but that's my opinion, because I didn't like it that Harrison Ford was killed off in that one. I mean, I know that in Star Wars they always kill off the first character at the beginning of each
Why are
movie.
we talking about Star Wars now?
Well, I just meant that I'm just comparing Crystal
sorry.
Skulls one to the Force Awakens one movie that came out,
okay.
and I'm making comparisons that Crystal Skulls one. I think I was much more happy with that one than I was when I watched The Force Awakens.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Actually, talking about people being killed off, the idea was to actually have Sean Connery in this movie and to have him possibly killed off, or just do a quick bit.
Yeah.
But Sean Connery didn't want to come out of retirement to do a little bit. He was enjoying retirement too much this time. He said, I'm having a ball. I got my
We
feet
already
up.
discussed that already.
Yeah, but I'm saying this, he wouldn't come in as one for that reason, but they wanted to bring him in and maybe kill him off, or just have a bit part. And but he didn't want to do the bit part. So, which is a shame, because I've always liked Sean. He got a great presence. Yeah. But he wasn't getting a lot older though. He might not have wanted to do it, and get tired as well. Yeah. We don't stay young forever.
Yeah, and he may want to retire. I mean, I don't think too many actors out there have ever established whether or not to retire or just continue working in this industry till they die. I don't know.
Now here's something time frame wise, putting things together, and which might put you a bit in perspective as well.
Okay.
In the year 2000, they were talking about reviving this project and making this movie. It was released in 2008. after probably half a dozen or more writes and rewrites and different storylines and everything, they didn't know what they're going to do till 2007. So it took probably 6 to 7 years to find a decent script to put together to make the movie.
I can see what you mean.
There's a lot of thought was put into this. They wanted to make it good. Very little CGI. They wanted to keep it, like Suri said previously, they wanted to keep it natural, as much ordinary stunt work as possible. They wanted to have everything to come together like the old movies.
Exactly so.
Didn't they?
Yeah, well, you can't argue with them there. I mean, if I were making a movie, I would try to make it as much as
See,
primitive as I can.
a bit like the old serials back in the old days. You used to go to the pictures when probably a lot of you younger folk wouldn't know about the serials at the pictures back in the early parts of last century. But they used to have, you go to see a major film and they have a serial, which would be next week come back and you'll see so and so, part 2 and part 3, and they had these action hero type guys, cowboys, archaeologists, whatever, doing things, and you had to come back the following week or the following fortnight to see the next instalment. And they want to get that feeling of the old filmmaking styles when they actually wrote the Indiana Jones scripts.
Right.
Isn't that interesting?
It
What
is
a lot of
interesting.
trivia, hey guys.
Yeah. So, how would you rate this movie, Mike?
Well, I'm not finished talking yet.
Just like you may have some.
We're getting close. We're getting close, folks.
Yeah. Well, you keep repeating some things here.
No, I have repeated something, but it was in line of we brought things in the beginning, and we're summarising a bit here of some of the other things. They did quite a few of those thingy wingies. I was going to say that. They had no, I won't do that. There you go. There's a bit. I've got a few notes here, so instead of having my laptop on my desk, Spielberg had to actually watch the previous Indiana Jones movies to figure out what style he used when he was a younger director.
That's clever.
Because he was maturing now. He's getting a lot more skills. And he wanted to go back. So I wanted to make it the same way I made it then. So he had to go back and say, how did I direct it back then, so many years ago when he did the first one? So he and the other people had to, director photography and guys, they had to try emulate the way they did the first movies.
Yeah, I mean, it does make sense that way.
yeah.
I mean, it's just like looking at the movie Hitchcock, or he said that he wanted to go back to an old way of filmmaking, of where he could just do his own thing without having to respond to other people's demands.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, I think that's the last thing I want to talk about, because I mean, it's just when you get into these sort of movies when there's a lot involved. Actually, that's one thing I was going to say. The cost to make this one. I don't know the cost on the other ones. I don't have it in front of me. But the budget for this was $185 million.
Wow.
But wait a minute. There's a drum roll. It made at the box office 790 millions, and that doesn't include the domestic market. It was, I think, the second highest grossing movies. So yeah, well done, Stephen and George. You've done it again.
Yeah, as I said before in the past, that Stephen is not looking at doing the Indiana Jones 5 movie.
No, he just stepped down from this one. He might be one of the producers.
Or the executive producers.
Well, no, whatever, yeah. And isn't Lucas exec? I think Lucas is going to be exec, and I think Stephen's going to be one of the producers. I've got several producers. But he's going to take a back seat and let somebody else take over. As he said, I'm going to hand over the whip to somebody else.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a good line, doesn't it?
Yeah, sounds
I
good.
wonder who wrote it for him.
Beats me.
Hang on.
But I do hope that whoever does it will capture keep those key elements to Indiana Jones.
Well, yeah, I mean, Steven Spielberg has a style. Like, I don't go on too much about directors and producers and camera people. But you got to take your hat off to Spielberg. When he puts his mind to making a good movie, he makes a damn fine movie. The man's got a lot of talent, and whether it's an Indiana Jones movie or something else, it really doesn't really matter. The guy has got a talent. He's got a vision in his head, and it seems to come out in the end product. So now I'm going to grade this, and this is nothing against anybody. I'm going to grade it a little bit less than what I would normally, only because I didn't like the fact it was a science fiction brought into an archaeology type based movie. Okay, so I would normally rate this one a 10. I'm going to give it a 9 because that bit there, that 1% there it was a fake artifact. I like archaeology being real. It's a fake artifact, and they made it into sci-fi. And I like the purity of the first 3 movies. It was actually real action adventure with archaeology and stuff thrown in. So ordinarily I'd say a 10, but in this case I give it a 9.
Yes. Okay. As for me, I rate this using rating the costumes, the props, the stars and locations and the styles they used or maintained for this one. I would probably give this an 8.5.
Ooh,
That's
a bit
considering I'm not a big fan of putting a sci-fi twist on Indiana Jones.
And I thought I was the only one. Well, no, okay, it's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
It's a fantastic movie. Actually, it's got a lot of great things in this movie. I'm not telling you not to see it. I think if you haven't seen it, it's great.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't seen it yet, I would suggest watch it now before you listen to our review.
Well, they've just listened to the review.
True.
Well, they're going to.
But again, guys, if you already looked at our review first and haven't seen the movie, I advise please
Please go and see the movie.
Please go see the movie.
It's still available. I'm sure you can buy it at a local shop or get a copy from Amazon or eBay or somewhere.
If the shops are still open where you are.
Well, okay, eBay, Amazon, whatever. Or wait for the coronavirus to finish and then go and get one.
Or if you're lucky and it's appearing on television as you speak, then
it might be. You might have a movie channel putting on. Keep an eye out for it. But I'd suggest have a look. I would. If you have the time and you get access to the copies, go to your video shop, hire them, whatever. Watch the 4 movies in a row and see how the whole storyline develops. I think between the 4 movies there is a continuity. So I think Lucas and Spielberg have stayed true to themselves when they made these movies.
Yeah,
they didn't bend it too much.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, a lot of not continuing movies. I mean, some of the ones, even the ones in the past, have decided to do a standalone sequel, which means it doesn't have any connections to the past.
Like in Star Wars, they did that first one. They did the first 6 movies, and then they did the other one, Rebel.
You mean
the one where they did the side story when they actually found the plans. Rogue One, Rogue One. Couldn't remember the name of it. Yeah, they made that was a side story, but referred back to Star Wars 4. Yeah. No. So side stories are good sometimes, but not always. But but it works sometimes. Yeah, that worked. Yeah.
The other day I was looking at some films that were horror films, and they were all had a sequel or prequel and all that stuff, and all of them didn't have they kind of were all standalone movies that didn't have any connection to one another, so there was nothing to give the story a bit more details to it. Which is kind of sad when you think about it. It's kind of, I mean, I think people who do sequels sometimes, that they're trying to create a marketplace for these films. So they pick a franchise or pick a certain film and make it into their film into a sequel, and they use the name to make the further...
More of a money-making effort than a creative effort.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Okay. Right, fair enough.
So that's what they're trying to do there, which is a shame.
Which is a shame. I mean, to me, obviously they've got to make a profit. Do not get me wrong. I'm not being stupid. I'm not
Yeah.
naive. If they don't make any money, they can't make another movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think they lose track of the art side of it, the
Yeah,
creativity
true.
side. I mean,
But what
it
if
seems to be
it,
run by
yeah.
accountants and
But
not
if you
the
picked if you picked a
the real people.
horrible movie out there and decide to put a sequel attached to it, people may not see it if it's a terrible movie and
Well,
you don't want
if
to
the
see
first
it.
movie's not well received and do a second movie, no one's going to watch the second movie.
Yeah, or the first movie is total a bomb and you don't want to see
Yeah.
the sequel. That's your own problem.
Yeah. It's like reading a book. I mean, you get a novelist who writes the book and it's a crappy book. People are going to say, "Oh, that novelist is really bad. I will not read another one of his books." So when the second book comes out,
Yeah.
the people who would have read his book and bought a copy of it, hopefully, may have bought it if the first book was good. Same as the movie.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
anyway, Indiana Jones and Star Wars, and I think about Star Trek and other franchise movies I could think of that have a good, solid continuation, are a great way to go to look for a continuing instead of stuff that doesn't have a continuing. It just does its own thing. That results in a bit of a mess here and there.
Yeah.
Although sometimes I often think certain people out there would just they buy the title and then just put
Well, they borrow the title.
they borrow the title
You get a
because
license, pay the license
because
fee
the
or something, or-
producers and the directors don't want to make another movie, and then they leave it to them to make their own sequel out of it, and it's up to them if it's going to be a flop or not.
Yeah, so sometimes the industry seems to get a bit tired. It can't think of new ideas and stuff, and it is sad. There's a lot of good creative brains out there don't get a chance to sort of break in the industry,
Yeah.
which is if it's either the people in it hang out together and they know each other, and trying to be a new kid on the block's pretty hard. Oh, well, that's a new kid on the block. I like that. It's how do you break in the industry? I don't know.
Yeah, well, usually to those out there, here's my suggestion to you guys. If you guys are breaking into the industry, remember always have good ideas. Make sure they're your own, and be sure to always come up with second or third or fourth draft of that very idea, so that you know you're on the right track. Very important, guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, in case you guys feel uncomfortable with the storyline or someone else says it could be better, that's always good to receive info like that.
Yeah, it's good to get good feedback, whether it's positive or negative, is how you take it.
Yes.
But there's a saying out of a movie called Galaxy Quest.
Okay.
Never give up, never surrender. And the same thing in this business. You might get knocked back today, you might get knocked back tomorrow, but the next day you might be accepted. It's like I heard someone tell me about salesmen. Someone told me that salesmen score one sale out of 20 contacts. They've got to go through 19 rejections before they make a sale. So it's everywhere, folks. So if you want to do it. Don't give up. We need creative people.
Yes, we
Whether
do.
they're a screenwriter, a story writer, someone breaking in and doing photography, audio guys, actors, just keep doing it, because somewhere along the line you're going to be at the right place at the right time. And
then very soon you'll finally get your final break.
Exactly. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't make it. That's because they give up too quickly sometimes, or
Or they just do it for the money, which I think.
Well, you got to focus on the art and your talent and strutting your stuff, doing it properly.
Money is
Money's
good,
nice.
but creativity is a lot more important.
If you're going to do it for the money, get a real job. If you're going to do it for the art, get in there and be the best you can be. Is that right?
Quite right, Mike.
Yeah, exactly right.
So, guys, thanks for listening to this podcast episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys all soon in our next podcast episode. So, see you guys around.
And stay healthy. I mean, I know some of you are still going through the coronavirus in different areas. Some areas are worse than others, but as at today, beginning of April, It looks like it's turning the corner in some countries, and I really like to think we've got this thing licked. Might be here for a few more months, might be here end of the year, might take a couple of years for it to totally be eradicated, but hang in there, guys. It's I think the worst is over for a lot of areas,
Yeah.
and those that aren't, like New York, is still going through a hard time. Our prayers go out to them. We just hope that the government, the mayor, everybody there can help these people in New York.
Yeah. So thanks for listening, guys. Till then, till next time. This is Sarah Stephenson saying, see you guys around.
Bye.